Brett Kavanaugh is the Trump-appointed nominee for Supreme Court. And what does this mean? Well, this means if he gets the job, he will be effectively dictating the direction of America for 30, 40 years, realistically, until he decides he no longer wants to work. It's an incredibly important job. Democrats in America are unbelievably spineless, pathetic, and wastes of space, because when Obama nominated for the Supreme Court, the Republicans just blocked at every single turn, and the Democrats just lied back and took it. Right now, the Republicans know that a blue wave is coming, and they want to get as many people into the Supreme Court as possible, because once you're in there, you can't just be voted out. You are pretty much there for the rest of your career. So who gets into this role is very important, not just from the standpoint of progressive or leftist or right or whatever, but it actually matters, because these are the people who will determine the biggest cases. And Kavanaugh is a name who came up a few years ago in a case where a company tried to sue one of their truck drivers because the truck driver left his truck in the middle of the night because he had broken down and he was literally getting frostbite. He would have died if he had stayed there. It went to a court, and Kavanaugh was one of the few people who said, no, you should have fucking died in that truck. How dare you think you have a right to live? Companies first, always. That's the kind of man that Kavanaugh is. And that's before we get into his anti-women's rights rhetoric that he spilled out for years on end. Okay, but why is he such a big deal at the moment and this recent controversy? Dr. Christine Blasey Ford anonymously at first came forward with a story that happened in high school and college when they were 17 years old. Now, should you always pay for a mistake you made at 17? Depends on the mistake, really. I mean, let's face it, if you take a tenner or even 20 out of your mum's purse and go buy booze with it, no. I mean, if you're in your 50s, your 40s, hell, if you're in your 30s, then you shouldn't be punished for that. But this is a very credible source who said Kavanaugh attempted to rape her. And the only reason she got away is because his mate jumped on the bed and she was able to get free. She ran to the bathroom, she locked herself in, she waited until they left the room, and then she ran out of the house party. It's a very credible source. Now, I'm bringing this up because, quite frankly, how the Republicans and Conservatives have acted in this is repulsive. If I heard tomorrow that Jeremy Corbyn had raped a girl when he was 17, 18, 20, then I would stop supporting for him. That would be it. If a credible source came forward with a rape charge, I would stop supporting Jeremy Corbyn, because it's the right thing to do. And the fact that you have to tell people, no, you shouldn't support a rapist, is beyond me. But what are we seeing from Republicans and the Conservatives? Nothing but attacks, and more attacks, and more attacks, and smears. Christina has had to go into hiding because a few days ago her name got released. And yet the morons at Fox News come out with, well, why didn't she come forward sooner? This is why. Because the second you come out against a Republican who has a little bit of power, you are condemned, you are smeared, and you get death threats constantly. Dinesh fucking D'Souza came out saying that this was an abhorrent attack on Kovac. And he cited a blog post. Not a news article, nothing like that. Just some guy's opinion. And a wrong opinion at that. Now, if it came out and then we get within a few weeks a ton of people come through saying, oh no, I don't remember this at all. This didn't happen. I've known Kovac for a long time. Okay, you'd start to doubt that source. But the fact that within 24 hours, the Republicans had 65 written testaments as a character witness for Kovac, that's incredibly suspicious. Could you get that in 24 hours? I know I could get character references, but I don't think I could get that in 24 hours. So either they're faked, or the Republicans were prepared for this because they knew something like this was going to come up. Now, a few years ago in 2010, maybe 2014, Christina actually went to therapy because this is obviously something that's haunting. She had a man try to rape her, covering her. I'm just hearing her accounts of it is disgusting. And I'm surprised she's done as well as she has, given that she's had to live her life with this sort of trauma. But she went to counselling, she went with her husband. So before he was even nominated, before Trump was even nominated, she was trying to work through these issues. And yet still, Fox News, the disgusting, phony propaganda machine, is blaming her rather than actually looking at the problem. And this isn't just a new thing. This isn't just a Kovac thing. This also happened with Roy Moore. Roy Moore didn't lose his local election because Republicans stopped voting for him. It's because more people on the left came out and voted against him. And this is a man who was accused of forcing himself on minors. There is a word for that. We call people like that paedophiles. So even though he's a paedophile, still had Trump's full support. And even though Kavanaugh, I want to be fair and say it appears like it, but there's only so much you can give fair doubt with. Kovac attempted to rape this woman. And yet Trump, of course, the man who has 19 active sexual assault cases against him right now, still fully supports him. The man who doesn't understand why Roy Moore lost still supports him. Political identification is toxic because it comes out with stuff like this. They don't care what the person's done because that person is on their side. Or rather, that person is on their team. Let's face it, Kovac is not on anyone's side. He will do exactly what he's paid to do for with the big companies. Case in point of the trucker a few years ago shows that clearly. But this is something that should not be forgiven. And every single time you see something negative about Christina come up, you should give hell to whoever brought that up. This is fucking disgusting. And this is why women don't come forward with rape allegations.